Life on a U.S. Navy supercarrier is a tough business. Its 6,000-strong crew is dedicated basically to just one task: to keep its air wing of over 80 combat aircraft ready for action. The modern American supercarrier is one of the most powerful and flexible weapons platforms ever developed. The carrier is simultaneously a mobile airport, a warship, and a community of 6,000 souls. The crew have one basic task: to get the carrier's primary weapon, its air wing, into the air and into action. This is carried out 24 hours a day, regardless of weather. And flying these aircraft are 200 or so pilots. But for each pilot, there are at least 15 other support personnel: maintenance men, weapons loaders, fuelers, firemen, flight deck crew, and men doing dozens of other jobs all play their part in keeping the air wing ready for action.
Right now the shuttle is at the 4 point.
Carrier operations are inherently risky. The crowded deck of a carrier is full of sound and fury. There's steam from catapults, the scream and heat of engines running at full power as aircraft launch and recover by slamming onto the deck. Flying off and landing onto a small pitching deck has been shown to be one of the most stressful activities ever devised. This increases even more at night than after combat. Even when there are no flight operations, there is still a risk of fire when fully armed and fully fueled aircraft are present on the flight deck. But aircraft are only part of the story. A carrier is first and foremost a very large warship, and it takes an equally large crew to make it run. The 3,300 men of the ship's complement handle everything from the ship's nuclear reactors and steam turbines to providing all the basic services, such as catering and laundry, needed by a community of over 6,000 people, day in and day out. The administration of a complex structure like a carrier is a major task. The community is run very much like a large corporate organization. The captain, always a former naval aviator, controls the largest and most powerful warship ever to sail the high seas.
We have air
air wing comprised of some 70-some aircraft on board that range from F-18s to F-14s to S-3B Vikings to helicopters to E-2 airborne early warning. Our main weapon of choice, or our main element of influence, is the air wing. It has the capability to project power around the world. The ship itself is powered by 2 nuclear reactors, which gives us the capability to steam at 30-plus knots, which gives us a great deal of diplomacy, or a great deal of maneuverability to move from one area of the world to the next. We have 3 onboard missile systems, which are NATO Sea Sparrow systems, which allow us to defend the ship in the event that any enemy was to penetrate our own airborne defenses that would be set up by our air wing. And we also have 4 Vulcan-failing Sea-Whiz Gatling guns, which we would utilize in point defense. But by and large, the arm of the Theodore Roosevelt is its air wing.
Life on the carrier is split into 2 main areas: flight operations above deck and below deck, where the routine life aboard a warship is conducted. From land bases, personnel, mail, and supplies arrive on the carrier by the COD, or Carrier Onboard Delivery Aircraft. This is the Grumman C-2 Greyhound, a transport version of the E-2 Hawkeye early warning aircraft. All activity on the flight deck is geared toward operation of the carrier's air wing of around 85 aircraft. The flight deck is split into 3 main sections. The front third of the ship is known as Fly 1. This busy area launches aircraft from the 2 bow catapults. After flight operations, this area is used to park aircraft. Directly behind each catapult are jet blast deflectors, or JBDs. These protect personnel and other aircraft as engines are run up to full power prior to launch. Catwalks are located just below the level of the deck and run around almost the entire perimeter of the flight deck. These house electrical power, refueling stations, and fire stations. Wheel stop combings prevent aircraft from going into the catwalks. Symbols identify the locations of fire extinguishing agents. The forward end of the landing area is called the angle, from where helicopters operate. The area where the bow meets the angled portion of the flight deck is called the crotch. Two bubbles sunk into the deck house personnel responsible for launching aircraft. The point is located opposite the crotch. Here, additional aircraft can be parked and maintained after flight operations. After landing, aircraft with live bombs and missiles must be de-armed prior to taxiing to tie-down spots. Weapons are made safe at the de-arm hold area. Four elevators move aircraft between the flight deck and the hangar deck immediately below. Each can lift up to 50 tons. Operations on the deck involve the closely coordinated execution of many different types of tasks. All personnel wear colored jerseys to indicate their particular function. The flight deck officer directs and oversees all movements of aircraft on the flight deck. Like all other supervisory personnel, the back of his helmet is painted with 3 orange stripes. Another key figure is the flight deck chief, who makes split-second decisions to spot aircraft prior to launch and after recovery. The air bosun supervises the aircraft crash, fire, and rescue team. This team will handle any emergency during flight deck operations. Aircraft directors are responsible for the safe movement of aircraft to the catapult, from the landing area and to their final parking area. The catapult officer, also known as the shooter, launches each aircraft from the center deck bubble or the waist bubble. On older ships not equipped with a bubble, the shooter signaled the catapult operator at the deck's edge, who then fired the catapult. The shooter verifies the aircraft weight and must correctly calculate the catapult launch settings. If everything's in order, the shooter receives a go signal and fires the catapult. At the stern is the arresting gear officer. He ensures that the proper weight is set in the arresting gear engines and that the landing area is clear of all hazards before aircraft land.
My job on board the Theodore Roosevelt is working up here on the bow in the fly one area where I'm a blue shirt. My job mainly is to what we call chalk and chain the aircraft. The aircraft comes in and land, they taxi it up here to our area, and we put it in spot, park it, put wheel chalks and tie-down chains to tie down to the deck for safety purposes. And whenever we need to make moves or pull forwards or anything, that's mainly our jobs. We break it down and pull the chalks again, move the bird.
Other blue shirts include elevator operators who move aircraft between the decks, and the tractor operators. These operate the aircraft starting units, known as huffers. This man is responsible for hooking up aircraft to the catapult. It is critical that the aircraft is seated properly. If not, it must be pushed back, wasting valuable time and jeopardizing flight operations. The bow safety personnel make sure that the bow is clear of foreign objects and personnel before any aircraft are launched. The catapult topside safety officer monitors and supervises the catapult hookup procedure for all aircraft. If everything is in order, he salutes the pilot, makes a final check, and signals that the aircraft is ready to launch. The aircraft's gross weight is verified by the catapult weight ward operator. He passes this information to the catapult safety officer so that the catapult can be properly set for each aircraft's launch weight. The middle third of the deck is called Fly 2. During flight operations, this is a busy transit area as aircraft are constantly moving through here to other parts of the flight deck. The waste bubble fires catapults 3 and 4. Fly 2 contains the angle portion of the flight deck. On the starboard side of the flight deck, the island contains the command and control areas of the ship. The bridge, primary flight control, flight deck control, and other functions critical to the ship's operations. In between the island and the starboard side catwalk is the bomb farm. This is a storage area for practice and live weapons. Nozzles for fire retardant are fitted to prevent bombs from cooking off during a fire. A second lift elevator is located forward of the island. As well as moving aircraft between decks, this area is also used as a parking space. Between the 2 forward deck lifts is the corral, an area used to secure aircraft during and after flight operations. The 6-pack borders the landing area and is a primary parking area for aircraft. The street runs between the 6-pack and the corral and is used for taxiing aircraft to the bow catapults. Fly 3 covers the aft third of the flight deck. Operations in this area are primarily concerned with recovering aircraft. Right at the back of the flight deck, the round down is located in the aft portion of the landing area. Below it is a safety net. Bomb jettison ramps are also located in this area. To the right of the landing area at the rear is the patio. Aft of this is the arresting gear officer's platform, from where there is a clear view of the deck as aircraft are recovered. A third lift is located aft of the island. Landing aboard an aircraft carrier has been likened to a controlled crash. Aircraft recover by means of an arrestor hook, which literally drags them to stop. Pilots aim to get the hook to engage one of the 4 immensely strong steel wires which run across the rear of the deck. These are connected to the arresting gear engines below deck. Each aircraft can be brought to complete rest from flying speed in just 2 seconds. A fourth lift is located on the aft port side of the flight deck. Aft of elevator 4 is an observation platform from where landing signal officers, or LSOs, can verify that aircraft are approaching the carrier on the correct glide path. In the event of a fault on the arresting gear or a faulty arrestor hook on the aircraft, a barrier is rapidly erected. This is basically a safety net made of nylon. All available personnel spread the webbing while the arresting gear crew spread the net. Immediately aft the island is the storage area for the ground support equipment. It is often known as the junkyard or pig pen. The carrier's Fresnel visual landing aids were developed from primitive landing aids used during World War II.
I'm Chief Dowden from the V2 Division Air Department. I'm the leading Chief Petty Officer for V2 Division. The V2 Division is in charge of the catapults, the resting gear, the lens, and the flight deck lighting. Right now, the green shirts in V2 Division, we're the maintenance part of it. We're in charge of the catapults, like I said, and the resting gear. This is the catapult. This is number 1 catapult that actually launches the plane off the deck. The other part is back aft, which we cover the plane. Then we have the lens that view all the camera part of the flight deck. Then we have flight deck lighting that takes care of all lighters on the flight deck. These guys right now are working on catapult number 1. They're doing some corrective maintenance. They're fixing the shuttle. The shuttle is a part of the catapult that actually is a direct connection to the airplane. Right now the shuttle is at the forward part of the catapult, which houses the water brakes. The water brakes is the part that stops the aircraft. The noise that you're hearing right now is the water brakes being ran.
As for launching, the correct weight for each recovering aircraft must also be set for the arresting gear engines. This is the task of the arresting gear deck edge operator, who also retracts the arresting gear wire after each aircraft is landed. Before he can do this, the arresting gear hook runner makes sure that the wire is free of the aircraft's tail hook. Aircraft which fail to engage the 4 arresting wires are called bolters. In this event, runners check for damage to the wires and verify their proper position. All aircraft launches and recoveries are documented. Manned cameras located in the island and unmanned cameras around the flight deck record all flight operations.
Doesn't matter what the weather is. If it's hot outside, we're still up here. Doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's snowing, as long as there's flight ops going on. The plane captains are on the roof taking care of the aircraft. As my shipmates have said, they keep them clean, they keep them fueled, they keep them inspected, they make sure they're safely tied down every evening. We call it putting them to bed, covers on them in port, you know, things like that. Each plane captain has an aircraft to take care of, and we work 2 shifts. It's a minimum 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
All right, B4 Division basically is responsible for the fueling and defueling of everything that needs gas on the aircraft carrier. From tractors to airplanes, anything that uses gasoline or...
The B-1 Division Crash and Salvage Crew serve as the flight deck fire department. They respond immediately to all aircraft fires, rescue air crews, and salvage aircraft.
I'm an ordnance, 6531. I'm considered a red shirt on the flight deck. My job is to load all the ordnance that's on an F-18. We troubleshoot. Right before the launch, if there's any gripes, we're there to find out what the problem is and correct it so that the pilot could complete his mission on time.
The explosive ordnance disposal officer and his crew are responsible for disarming and neutralizing defective ordnance. The ordnance handlers, known as BB stackers, move, load, and download all ordnance. The ship's safety officer and his crew are responsible for the overall safety of flight deck operations. The landing signal officer ensures each aircraft approach remains within safe parameters during recovery. The LSO communicates with approaching aircraft using radio and light signals. He also waves off aircraft outside safe parameters for landing. Identified by prominent crosses on their jerseys, flight deck foremen provide immediate medical assistance and treatment to any injured flight deck personnel. Squadron plane inspectors perform the final ready-for-flight checks prior to launch and signal the shooter with a thumbs-up sign if the final check is okay. Communicating in such adverse conditions is very difficult. Flight deck personnel use visual hand signals as the primary form of communication. General information to all hands is passed via speakers located around the flight deck and catwalks. Specific information is passed between supervisory personnel via a radio headset, known as the mouse. FOD walkdowns are held before, during, and after flight operations. All personnel participate, from ship's company to air wing. They form a line and walk the length of the flight deck, searching for any object that can cause damage to an engine if sucked into an intake, or injure personnel if blown by engine jet blast. With aircraft landing, taking off, and taxiing constantly, the carrier flight deck is a dangerous environment. Most injuries to flight deck personnel tend to occur during taxiing when normal movement patterns change. Danger can also come from fast-rising jet blast deflectors, from hot engine exhausts, and from engine intakes. Aircraft engines are exceptionally loud, loud enough to cause permanent loss of hearing if ears are not properly protected. For this reason, all flight deck personnel wear cranials with sound attenuators. Propeller aircraft present yet another risk on the flight deck. Danger also comes from helicopters, which fulfill important roles for the carrier as plane guards, sub-hunters, and search and rescue aircraft. The process of launching and recovering aircraft is called a cycle. At first, it seems that there is an overwhelming confusion to the activity as personnel wearing different colored shirts mill around on the deck. It seems that 1,000 tasks are all happening at the same time, but a closer look reveals a fundamental order to that activity. Colored shirts denote the specific task or type of task carried out by flight deck personnel. All are carefully coordinated to ensure that the carrier's air wing are launched and recovered in the shortest time and in the safest possible manner.
Hi, I'm Chief Howard here. I work in V1 division, which is the flight deck division. The space that you're in right now is flight deck control. In here you can see what we have, a Ouija board. Now a Ouija board is an exact replica of the flight deck. The aircraft are down to size, down to scale size. That way there we can see at all times where the aircraft are on the flight deck. The pins on the aircraft is what we call pinology. Each pin stands for a certain symbol. Some of the examples I can give you are the nuts on the front of the aircraft mean it's a first go. The nuts on the rear would mean a second go. This nut right here means that it's an aircraft that needs transited to the hangar bay. Red nuts are alerts, green nuts are earlies, purple nuts mean fuel. Now, some of the stuff on here it's changing at all times. The nuts make it easy for us to make them changes. If this aircraft right now is a first go aircraft and happens to have a problem, I can move him back here. Now he's a second go aircraft. The variables on the flight deck change extremely quick. And to keep up with all these changes, we use pinology, which makes it a lot easier for us.
Fire is the biggest risk on an aircraft carrier. Fully armed and fully fueled aircraft pose huge fire risks. For this reason, all personnel train constantly for the awful eventuality that a fire may break out in the tightly confined space of the flight deck. JP aviation fuel is commonly used on carriers. It is relatively safe to handle and store. However, under crash impact conditions, fuel misting and ignition can occur with catastrophic results. Fires on aircraft usually happen without warning and spread very quickly. The carriers are equipped with AFFF fire retardant to combat rapid spreading of fires. Accidents due to inexperience or combat fatigue have been shown to occur all too easily. Dramatic confirmation of the destructive power of fires came during a 1967 cruise off Vietnam. A Zuni air-to-ground rocket was accidentally fired into fully armed aircraft on board the USS Forrestal. The ensuing fires lasted 12 hours, killing 134 men and injuring dozens more. 21 aircraft were completely destroyed. Because of this great risk, all crew, air wing, and ship's company practice fire drills again and again. The flight deck is fitted with a fire extinguishing system which serves two important purposes. During a fire on the flight deck, one or more several zones of nozzles can be activated, sending a concentrated blanket of AFFF retardant to extinguish the fire and cool down ordnance. Away from the sound and fury of flight operations is the life conducted by thousands of sailors below the flight deck.
The way I would describe life on board a carrier, on board the Theodore Roosevelt, I find it kind of interesting in life. It's not too bad. The only problems with it is being away from home, from friends and family. But make friends out here, and it's an interesting job. And you know, hit some interesting ports and see some interesting sights out here while we're out here, and I like it.
Life on a Supercarrier is a continuation of each day with a nap in between. I mean, we work every day, we get up, you get into a daily routine.
I find the carrier is something to get used to. This is my first time out on the carrier. The biggest part is getting used to the sailors. I never worked around sailors. I always worked with the Marines. The environment is different. Everything is different totally from being on shore.
Virginia Beach Circuit Court Judge.
On this day, 19...
We've got 30 seconds. All those items, we put the meat in the sauce.
Life on the carrier is very
in our ovens.
stress levels get real high. Living with
Next step is to put it on.
all these people in such close quarters.
It's hard, you got long hours, a lot of stress. Like you said, you live in close quarters, like we have about 120 people that sleep on the same little area as us. It's noisy, you don't get any time to yourself.
And you're always worrying about stuff happening. And it's kind of like you got 100 and something brothers and sisters aboard that you got to look after, and they got to look after you. Basically, I mean, you got to wait in line for chow, and basically wait in line for everything, but it's not that bad.
Hey, honey.
Hi, Mom. How you doing? This is me, Ivan.
Here on the ship, we're basically a community hospital that services 6,000 personnel when we have the air wing on board. And what makes up our team here is one nurse, myself. We have 3 flight surgeons, a general surgeon, a physician assistant, a general medical officer, and a senior medical officer who's also a flight surgeon. Right now we're in the intensive care unit and also acts as our recovery room. We handle approximately 100 surgeries during our last 6-month deployment, 100 medical emergencies with our 5-man emergency response team. We saw 250 patients in our hospital, which we have a 67-bed hospital that services the ship and the air wing and also the battle group itself, which will take other sailors from other ships within the battle group.
Life on the carrier, long hours, a lot of hard work, and you got to be dedicated. You know, do what you're doing. Take it serious. It's real dangerous up here.